Good evening. This is a joint meeting of the Southfield Board of Education and the Southfield City Council. This is a meeting of the Southfield Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered as a community meeting. There are 2 opportunities for public participation during the meeting, and comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. The board will listen to comments but may not respond during the meeting. If you wish to address the board, please submit a comment card immediately. Roll call. Ashanti Bland, Board President.
Darrell B. Joyce, Vice President.
Yvette Ware Duvall, Secretary.
Charles Hicks, Board Trustee.
Michael Benison, Board Trustee.
Dr. Jennifer Green, Superintendent.
And I'd like to welcome Madam President Lenny Taylor and the Southfield City Council.
Thank you and good evening. And for our roll call, we'll do the same. We'll go across and introduce ourselves and give our titles with what we do for the city. With that, my name is Lenny Taylor. I am the Council President.
Michael Ari Mandelbaum, Council President Pro Tem.
Daniel Brightwell, City Council Person.
Ken Cyber, Mayor.
Jason Hoskins, Councilman.
Nancy Banks, City Council.
Myron Frazier, City Council. Lloyd Cruz, City Council.
Don King, City Attorney.
Fred Zorn, City Administrator. And Madam President, if I may note that my Police Chief Barron is here, Fire Chief Menifee is here, City Planner Terry Crode, Russell Malberg from our Parks and Rec Department, Nancy Keener from also our Parks and Rec, and Deputy City Administrator John McGreen are in the audience this evening.
And Nicole Humphreys, I'm the Deputy City Clerk.
Thank you.
Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. At this time, we'd like to call for public participation, and this will be both for our City Council communication and for Board of Education public participation. If you wish to address the board regarding a school-related issue that has not yet been resolved by school administration, please submit a comment card immediately. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per individual. As a matter of fairness, speakers with complaints against individuals are asked not to mention any persons by name. Complaints concerning employees pursuant to Board Policy 9130 should be brought to the attention of school principals or other administrators before coming to the Board of Education. Your cooperation is appreciated.
Also, since this is communications for the city as well, the City of Southfield City Council has established the following rules of procedure for all speakers. No speaker may make personal or impertinent attacks upon any officer, employee, or city council member or other elected officials that is unrelated to the manner in which the officer, employee, or city council member or other elected official performs his or her duties. No person shall use abusive or threatening language toward any individual when addressing the City Council. Any person who violates this section shall be directed by the presiding officer to be orderly and silent. If a person addressing the council refuses to become silent when so directed, such persons may be deemed by the presiding officer to have committed a breach of the peace by disrupting and impeding the orderly conduct of the public meeting of the City Council, and may be ordered by the presiding officer to leave the meeting. If the person refuses to leave as directed, the presiding officer may direct any law enforcement officer who is present to escort the violator from the meeting. Thank you.
Yolanda Haig.
I am a concerned resident that would like to address this school bond issue. I guess this is the only place I can since you all the school board. As a resident of this city, I am totally against this proposal. As a resident, I am concerned about the tax increase in my taxes, and there are those of us that are friends of mine that could not make it because they are working. and they are against this. We feel that this is fiscally irresponsible for the school board to do in a time where we have increased gas taxes, increased interest rates, and increase in inflation, and ignoring the fact that there is a recession. In addition to that, there are properties in this city that are schools that are closed that we are still paying money for, which is a problem. I live behind or in front of Eisenhower School, which has been closed for several years, which I explained to the council. That place has been used as a dog park, a football playground, a sexual encounter area, a drug raid, a dump, and several other things. It has just been roped where cars cannot go back there. It is a horrible mess. At one time, there was some type of school occupying it or some type of program I won't mention, you all should know it's on your records, where they were allowing people to take furniture out of the building. Now, we're paying taxes for this, and I think that that is a big problem. We're paying for a facility that is not being used, and there are several others like that. And I understand that some of those are in condition where they need to be torn down. In addition to that, you're talking about a building, a community center where we have a field zone, which has changed names several times, and lack of participation from people there. I'm trying to understand, why would you go over into an area where your area is education, where I think that the field zone or something to that nature community center, if you will, should be something that the city should take up. Now, I was talking to one of the board members here, and he nicely explained to me about the money part, but if you take $1 of my money and use it, misuse it, I have a problem. And I seriously have a problem with this, and several other people do, and I feel that there has not been enough information. There's been a lot of silence about it, and we're talking 30 years. Kids go to high school for 4 years. In addition to that, I said at the council meeting, people are not having children. There is a decrease in children, so why are we trying to fit something that isn't already working and produce something that we have to pay for? There are people here that can't even afford their medication, and we're asking them to pay taxes on this. I think you all need to really reconsider that. I think it's unfair and irresponsible of you to ask the taxpayers to pay such a burden for 30 years. I won't say how old I am, but I wouldn't want to pay for anything more than my house for 30 years if it's $5 or $10 or $1. Please, I think that this is, like I said, irresponsible.
Thank you. I see another public participation card in the audience. Marcy Turner.
Excuse me, could you please repeat the name of the person? We're having a hard time hearing.
Marcy Turner. You're welcome.
Good evening, honorable boards. I would like to co-sign partly on what Yolanda just said and add to that I am a senior, over 65. I know there's a little caveat in there in that proposal that's supposed to give some measure of relief of that tax. But I don't want any increase in my taxes. I don't want a discounted relief. I want no increase in taxes because I don't think the money's being used properly. I think there maybe needs to be an audit of the school board's fund in the budget and get an understanding of where this money's going. I think you have enough to work with. And as Yolanda stated, funds are limited in households. We've already given away 18 meals that other municipalities enjoy, like the city of Detroit, other municipalities. So I'm a homeowner. I feel like 18 whip meals is, I'm already taxed for 18 meals, and I don't want to be taxed another dime. Thank you.
I see another public participation card in the audience. Jane Miller.
Good evening. I would like to thank the last two ladies for speaking. I'm right there with them. I feel that we don't trust the school board to handle the money the way it should be handled. We, on Green Valley Street, had issues with over $100,000 on a access road that we were told will probably never be used, attaching to our cul-de-sac. And that's money that could have gone into metal detectors, ballistic glass, whatever it takes to help protect the children. We kept being told it was to protect the children at over $100,000 of our taxpaying dollars. And I don't want to pay another dime to the school district if that's how you're going to handle it. I just think that money should have been spent wiser. And I know that I have a whole bunch of people that feel the same way. Thank you.
Thank you. There's another comment card in the audience. If there are any other comment cards at this time, would you please hand them to the young lady that is standing in front of the stage, please? Thank you. Harold Hill.
Honorable body, my name is Harold Hill, and not to just echo what these ladies have talked about, we want accountability. And most contracts are not written for 30 years, even in the athletic departments, as I mentioned at City Council. They're written because you have to have some kind of return on investment, some accountability. And for that long a period of time, you're right, mortgages are 30 years. We want to have a return on investment. The school system was doing great 10 years ago. But lately, I've noticed a difference. Niche.com says that 80% are not passing the math test. That's unacceptable. This is Southfield. We put that money there so that they can. We want our kids to do well. And I'm not saying it's the teachers, because we know we have a problem with some of the kids. And some of the parents need to step up for that. But to put 30 years of an investment, I think the school should better manage their properties. They have several properties, 4 of them, the schools that are sitting. That's a lot of money. Instead of coming to the wells for the city of Southfield residents continuously, we passed a mortgage a bill in 2018, the sinking fund. We passed in 2020 an operating budget. It seems as though this administration keeps coming to the well, but wait a minute. You have assets that you should really look at when you actually need to spend money. Those buildings, if you put, let's say, 10 houses of $400,000 a piece on them, you would have probably enough money to handle a lot of things. So it's hard to teach business if you're not doing business. I'm sorry, but I can't say that this is a good idea, not for 30 years. We love our kids, we want to do well, but we want to make sure the investment's a proper investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Gregory Keeler.
Greg Keeler, I would have to agree with everybody else that has spoke. I would say no, because we are closing about half of our schools. We don't have students that are going up in numbers here. They are going down in numbers. So if everything is going down, why are we paying more money? What are you doing with the money you already have? Didn't we give you money 2 years ago, and now you're coming back and asking for 30 years? Are you going to ask for another 30 years and 2 more years? Some kind of way here, I see that there is very poor management of money. Because once again, as Mr. Hill pointed out, you have property. I'm wondering why we don't have a senior center here. How come that hasn't been given to our city to be able to be used for us who are paying taxes for this. No thought has been looked at into doing anything to diversify that will help the city or help within this community, but the buildings sit there empty. Why? Why are they sitting there empty? Are you paying people to be there in those buildings and they're not being utilized as they are going bad, as they're just sitting there with nothing going on? This makes absolutely no sense to me. They should be used for something.
Thank you. Hearing and seeing no more public participation.
Oh, we have another
Oh, we
card.
do? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought we got them all. Again, if there's any more public participation cards, would you please hand them to the young lady while she is in the audience? Thank you. Camille Johnson.
Hello, my name is Camille Johnson, and I am asking for information about this bond proposal, and I'm not getting it. When I looked at the bond proposal, I see a lot of things listed. I would like some details. When I have emailed Southfield Public Schools, asked for details, I have gotten no answer. I would like to know why.
Is there any more public participation? Hearing none. Southfield Public School District updates and bond presentation. At this time, I will ask that Dr. Jennifer Green come forward to share our bond presentation. Much of this information has been shared since August at our town hall meetings taking place every Tuesday. In the month of August and September, they were taking place every Tuesday and Thursday. Dr. Green, if you are all set. Council members, board members, you have a packet at your seat that will address everything that Dr. Green will cover, and to the audience, everything that she's going to cover will be on the screen. Thank you.
Thank you, Board President. I would also like to acknowledge the fact that joining us this evening is our Chief of Staff, Mr. James Jackson, Ms. Felicia Wright, who is our Executive Director of Operations. In our audience, we have our Chief Financial and Operating Officer, as well as Carrie Blanchett from PFM, who can address some of the misinformation that is being spread relative to the increases with the proposal.
And while we're passing these down, I'd also like to acknowledge our city treasurer that had come in, Herb Lowenberg.
Good evening.
Also, our recording this evening is M1 Studios, and Ms. Carolyn Foster will be taking minutes, as well as our Director of Communications, who is the young lady that is gathering the cards, and Mr. Ron Soleil, who is working on technology this afternoon or this evening. So thank you all for being here this evening. Many of the things that have been lifted hopefully will be addressed in this presentation. For those who still have information, we have had numerous town hall meetings and we will continue to share the information relative to our why behind this bond proposal. So forgive me for looking to the side. I'm giving away my script, and that's the only way I can see where I'm going. So I'm going to try to position myself to not be rude to anyone on stage or to you as well. So today's discussion, we're going to talk about our why. We're going to talk a little bit about the history of Southfield Public Schools. We're going to discuss maybe some additional glasses. James, can I borrow yours? Thank you. Small print. Our facility assessment findings. We are going to discuss safety and security, which is a big thing that is not just impacting Southfield Public Schools, impacting the state of Michigan, and impacting our country at large. We have to protect our young people and our staff who work here each and every day. Previous ballot initiatives, I heard that that was lifted as well, and we do have some information on that. And then what is actually on the November 8th ballot, and our campaign efforts to date, and then, of course, our team will entertain any questions that council may have. That being said, why are we doing this bond proposal? Timing is never good, but we are at a critical state in our infrastructure, and we're definitely at a critical state relative to safety and security. Most recently, actually almost 1 year ago today, we had an incident in one of our neighboring communities whereby there was an active shooter and many people lost their lives. As a result, the state did afford us an opportunity to work with a private firm, and they paid for that firm to come out and do an assessment of our schools. I'll go into more detail in the presentation later relative to their findings, but it is alarming to think that in Uvalde, Texas, if a door was not open or if that door had been repaired, perhaps that active shooter may not have gotten into that elementary school. Or someone mentioned metal detectors. Yesterday in St. Louis at a high school, they had metal detectors. A weapon still got into that school and 2 people lost their lives. So there is not a one-size-fits-all answer, but we have to do all that we can do to ensure the safety, not only of our students, our staff, but for our community as well. So we've had declining enrollment. The district was built for 16,000 students. We currently have 5,000. This administration has been in place a little over 4 years, and in that time, we've stabilized enrollment, despite the fact that we had 2 years of a pandemic. The previous efforts, of which we will discuss as well, to address the declining enrollment and closing of buildings did not adequately solve the issue, nor the value of those properties address the declining infrastructure. And I'll talk about that when we talk about the enrollment, the facilities audit. Facilities needs. In 2019, pre-pandemic, we did have Barton Mallow, based here in Southfield, Michigan, to come out and do a facilities audit. We needed to understand what it was we had and what we were working with moving forward. We do not have an infinite amount of money, therefore we had to prioritize the issues that were existing within our buildings. And sir, you don't have to worry about recording. We are recording it and we are going to post it on our website, so you don't have to hold the camera up the entire time. That's why M1 Studios is here to share with you. We were concerned. Some of you graduated from Southfield Public Schools. This auditorium looks identical to when you were a student here. Some of the chairs, we asked people not to sit in because they would fall. When the rain came down this evening, I had concerns about being in this auditorium because if you look up to the right, the ceiling is leaking and it needs to be repaired. The last bond for this district was 20 years ago. Continuing on, the other financial vehicles that were lifted were not sufficient. The facilities audit determined we had $200 million in deferred maintenance. I heard from many homeowners, $200 million. If I sold all the property today, if this board sold all the property today, we wouldn't raise $200 million. And that was pre-pandemic. With the supply chain issues, with the labor shortages, that $200 million is probably now closer to $225, $250 million. And that was just with what was identified then. And with what was identified, if we made all of those repairs, our buildings would still look the same, but the interior would be different, the mechanical pieces. We had the sinking fund. We had the general fund, the one-time COVID relief, and the annual changes that are needed with state aid funding. Our current state aid formula was passed in 1995, and it is still in place today. Southfield is also a flow-through district, so sometimes when funds come to the district, we have to reallocate and send them elsewhere. For example, when we receive federal funding, any young person that lives in the Southfield Public Schools boundaries, be it the city of Southfield or Lathrop Village, that attends a private school within a 25-mile radius is entitled to a portion of our federal funds. That is the law. We don't have any flexibility in that regard. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the safety and security of all within our district. This shows our enrollment projections according to Middle Cities, who've recently changed their name. They're now the Michigan Alliance for Student Opportunities. but this shows what we are projected to have over the next 5 years. As you see, it is stabilizing, but as one person mentioned, families are not having the same number of children that they did some time ago. The average building in Southfield is 59 years old. If you did nothing to your home in 59 years, where would it be? If you did no maintenance on your vehicle in 59 years, I don't even think there's a 59-year-old vehicle still on the road. If you did nothing to your physical body in 59 years, what condition would you be in? The newest building in Southfield is 56, older than some in the room. We currently have 19 buildings that we own and manage, a little over 1.3 million square feet. And again, as I mentioned, the last bond was passed nearly 20 years ago. Someone lifted, why don't we sell the buildings? We are in the process of trying to sell the buildings that are offline. I actually spoke with the realtor that we're working with right before I came to this meeting. Our board doesn't even know this information because it's hot off the press. They are going through, combing through all the proposals. The realtor that we're working with has met with city officials. They mentioned the meeting with Terry. They mentioned the meeting with several other individuals trying to work through proposals to assist us. And we thank the city for allowing us that opportunity. I just learned about the RUUD, is that the right acronym for that? To overlay, to allow developers an opportunity to take school property and use them for purposes other than schools. We don't pay for those facilities other than the maintenance and upkeep, and we are trying to eliminate those properties from our rolls. They've been offline for a long time. They've been offline prior to this administration. But we also have to be fair and equitable to the residents that live around them in terms of what they want to see go into their community. We have to be fair and equitable in terms of the price that we can attain for those properties. But we are working diligently to try to take that property offline. Fiscal responsibility has been the mantra for this administration and these trustees. We took our Moody's rating, which is equivalent to a school district's credit rating, from a B+ to an A1. We have been fiscally responsible. We have increased our fund balance, and this is the only minority school district in the state of Michigan that has never had fiscal or academic state oversight. And I attribute that to the trustees sitting in front of us and the team that serve our students every day. We are audited on a regular basis. Our auditors are here now. They're Plant Moran. The vice presidents come out to audit. And there is no fiscal impropriety having been identified. For those concerned with taxes for seniors, on our website, there is a calculator, and it is significantly less for those that have a fixed income. You go to our website, you pull up the bond page, you type in your own information, and it will tell you exactly what your property tax increase will be. Carrie is here today if anyone does not believe me, from PFM. She can walk you through it. Our proposal, I'm sorry, let me go back to the state of Michigan. Because of the steps that this board was courageous to take in leading up to the application, the State Department of Treasury is backing this proposal. And they signed off on the 100-page application to allow us to use their credit rating for this bond. We could not even bring this proposal to you had we not passed the interview with the Department of Treasury. Again, right-sizing the school district, we would also be taking Southfield Regional Academic Campus offline. Again, that's on Evergreen. Vandenberg Elementary School on Edwards. McIntyre Elementary School on Saratoga would be repurposed. I heard someone mention a community center or a senior center. That is indeed our intent, to repurpose so that the entire community, seniors included, can be a part of the district and utilize our facilities. And then Magnolia Center, which was probably one of the first schools built here in Southfield because it's what I would like to refer to as a one-room schoolhouse, although it has 3 or 4 classrooms there on Dorset. The last bond proposal here in Southfield was approximately 20 years ago. And what you see there was $27 million. A lot of it went right here into this high school. We had a new field house, new athletic facilities, and what really took a significant investment was Title IX investment to ensure that we had adequate facilities. But most of our buildings are not ADA compliant. They did not fall into the category of ADA compliance because of the age of the buildings. They were grandfathered in. We received a call this evening to ask if we had wheelchair accessibility for our stage, and honestly, I had to stop and ask our facilities director to come over and verify that, because we do have buildings that are 2 stories that don't have an elevator. And Chief Menifee and I talk about what happens if I have a fire and I have to get these babies from a 2nd story. I've heard from seniors they want to come and use our pools and swim. It's not ADA compliant. I can't afford it today because it's not designed for current ADA standards. Facilities needs. You will see that a part of the audit, we had site evaluated, paving evaluated. I have 2 on every slide, so I'll slow down. We looked at everything, roofing. We looked at arts, academics, athletics, common areas. This high school's name changed a few years back to Southfield High School for the Arts and Technology. I challenge you to look at any of our arts and technology. You just witnessed our technology decline. Our dance studio doesn't have dressing rooms. The floor is not level. Again, it's not a problem that this administration created, but we know that we cannot continue to put a Band-Aid on a bullet hole. We need to remove the bullet and actually do the necessary surgery. I'll flip through a few more. Windows, doors, lockers. Everything is in need of repair or replacement. This is from the company that I referenced earlier today, many of whom are retired Michigan State police officers. And I quote, SEC strongly recommends the community pass the upcoming bond issue. The district has significant needs in the areas of safety and security that will require a substantial investment. This includes physical renovations to improve the entries, as well as technology and other upgrades needed to provide a safe and secure environment for students. I didn't say that. The experts said that. We don't have a uniform key system in our district. We must have over 1,000 keys. No one can even carry that amount of keys. And I'm looking at Chief Barron and Chief Menifee because we've had these conversations. What if something were to happen? We put Knox boxes on our buildings most recently. We put numbers on our doors. These were things that were not in place. But we are working feverishly with the dollars that you have entrusted to our care to make sure that we are using them wisely. Chief Menifee was kind enough to give us old fire hose that we can use for safety mechanisms in the event that we had to put our classroom doors on lockdown. Because we didn't have the additional funding to go by the fancy mechanisms that other school districts are installing. Previous ballot initiatives, and forgive me for being emotional, but this is emotional for me because you entrust 5,000 babies' lives to us every day. In 2018, we had the sinking fund. You were kind enough to grant us that. It would generate $17.5 million over 10 years. That's 1.75 each year for that 10 years. On average, our projects are 3 million and above. It would take 2 to 3 years just to get enough to handle one project. Therefore, in 2020, we did a non-voted bond in order to expedite those funds and pay it back through the sinking fund dollars. You see some of the projects we did with that, and we do have documentation because we do believe in accountability. We had some roof repairs at Southfield A&T, but as I mentioned, we couldn't get to this part of the building, so we had to deal with the ones that were most prevalent at the time. Vandenberg and Stevenson received new roofs. We did HVAC controls for the schools. And we removed a fuel storage tank that could have potentially become an environmental hazard for the community. We also did the construction of the egress road, as it was a requirement by our safety plan. We are not always happy with the decisions we have to make, but we have to lean into the experts that sit on our safety committee when making the decisions. In 2020, we had the replacement operating millage, and it's important to note that this was not an increase. This was a replacement for what was already in place, and it added for non-homestead, those being that of businesses within our community. Again, having a strong school system leads to having people interested in moving to our community, leads to increased resale value for our homes. I mentioned the 2020 non-voted bond and what we did with those dollars when we received them. Bernie received a complete new HVAC upgrade, and for those that may not be aware of HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning, they are in the process of getting a new roof, and we installed new parking lots at Adler, McIntyre, Stevenson, and Vandenberg. Some have asked, why did we put pavement on schools that will be going offline? If and when the time comes for those schools to go offline, it will improve the resale value, and the resale value will go back to pay off that portion of the bond for the projects that were tied to bond. Furthermore, we still have babies there every day, and we have to ensure their safety coming to and from school. Again, as I mentioned, as a result of the funding, we have a stronger school system that makes the city of Southfield more attractive. The more attractive Southfield leads to potential home buyers and businesses. I also want to pause where it pertains to academic performance. Last year alone, we had to close this high school several times due to heating issues. In those spring months, we have to close due to extreme heat. I'm not sure where you work each day, but it's really challenging for young minds to thrive when the conditions are less than conducive for them to learn. What is on the ballot? It's a $345 million bond proposal, a 3.26 mil increase, which would cost the average homeowner with an SCD state equalized value of $100,000, 89 cents per day. This is a chart from PFM, and that's one of the reasons I asked Carrie to be here this evening. This is Oakland County, and this shows the number of mills that are being levied by school districts in Oakland County. Students are leaving Southfield to go to other districts. Those districts have nice, shiny buildings, new lab equipment, the latest technology, but those communities have also invested in the development of those schools. And mills are calculated based on state equalized values. So for a neighboring district, and I know that they have a 2 mil increase on their ballot, because of their SCV, they will garner $550 million on a 2 mil increase. Our 3.26 will garner approximately $345 million. Carrie, is there anything I missed on this slide that you wish to address before I move on? Thank you. In order to keep the interest rate low, we are proposing this bond be in 3 series. Series 1 being years 1 through 3, Series 2 being years 4 through 6, and Series 3 being years 7 through 9. This factors in not only the repairs that are needed, but also the redevelopment of McIntyre into that of a community center, and also any demolition that would be associated with any remaining buildings that are online, so that we could sell the land associated with those facilities. As I stated earlier, if we utilized any of the bond dollars to raise the buildings that are still remaining, the proceeds from those buildings, the sale of those buildings, will go back to pay off the bond. Carrie, is that an accurate statement? Thank you. What did we do to engage stakeholders? We've been at this for almost this entire calendar year. We've had a number of focus groups, including that of the Board of Education, students, who is our #1 consumer, parents, including PTAs and booster clubs, staff from both the elementary and secondary level, elected officials from the local and county level, our partners, inclusive of the chamber, surveys to all stakeholders and that we were able to reach, 9 town hall Tuesdays, some of which were in person and some virtual. We've spoken at faith-based organizations. We've gone to just about every PTA meeting. We still have some scheduled this week. Mr. Jackson spoke with the City Planning Commission. We mailed letters to every home within the city of Southfield and Lathrop Village zip codes. We mailed postcards. We've had community canvassing on the last several weekends. We have a social media information campaign and informational boards in all of our buildings. In addition, we have yard signage, printed literature in all schools and many local businesses, an informational website, inclusive of the tax calculator that I referenced. We did an interview with the Southfield Sun. We've done several informational videos, of which I will show you one this evening because it is coming directly from our young people. Announcements at all of the curriculum and athletic events. We receive continuous feedback by way of our QR code, and we have a responsiveness to all stakeholders. That is calls, emails, etc. FOIA requests go through our FOIA department, and our attorney will respond to those accordingly. At this time, Board President, I turn back over to you for any questions. Let's do the video first,
Yes.
if it pleases the board.
I would just like to state that myself and some of the other trustees were able to go to West Bloomfield Middle School, who actually just completed the bill for their bond that they passed, I believe, was it 2019? And they don't have to do this. Their technology in their auditorium is absolutely amazing. They went down to one middle school, and they are literally seeing their children take pride in their buildings. So as I watched Ron turn this around, I had to laugh because they had things that came out of the ceiling, and I just thought that was important to share because as trustees, we do talk to other trustees in the state to find out what they're doing and how it's working. So I just wanted to share that information with you. I believe that we're gonna play a video of our students now. Perfect, thank you, Ron.
I wish we could change the bathrooms.
I would say like the bathrooms.
Better bathrooms. Because the bathrooms have toilet paper everywhere and there's stuffed John on the walls.
Because sometimes you can have like a lot of water in the faucets and sometimes you can't.
I wish that my school was more modern in terms of the infrastructure, how it is built, and just making it more appealing to people who may want to send their children there.
One thing I would change about how my school looks is I wish the classrooms were a little bit bigger.
I personally would think that our school should be more inviting, and I would like to change the look of how our classrooms look, our media centers look, and I wish that our media centers had more up-to-date technology in them.
I have visited other cities with schools that have amenities that I wish my school had. I really wish that my school had a nicer auditorium. I also wish that my school had air conditioning so the students won't feel hot all the time.
Three locks on the door, 3 locks on my classroom door, 3 locks everywhere.
Security cameras, officers.
I feel like to be more safe, more outlets to get out of the school. If we were to have an intruder, we need to have a fast and efficient way to leave and flee the premises. So potentially more doors, more windows.
Something that could be done so I can feel safer is add like better locks and maybe even better security cameras.
I do feel safe, but once again, I think that it starts at the core of mental health. And I think that we should be able to discuss that freely without judgment of any kind to make sure that our students are in the best space or in the best headspace socially and mentally.
I would like to be able to participate in technology and engineering.
I would like to see more coding.
I would definitely like to see more instrumental programs and more choir programs.
I would like to bring back the choir my school had. We had it, but before COVID-19, after COVID-19, it diminished. So I would like to bring that back.
I think that it definitely broadens their horizons for creativity, and it broadens their horizons to let their creative juices shine. Me planning to go and major at University of Michigan, the classes will be very, very rigorous. And therefore, I think that we should be able to have the courses that prepare us for those tougher colleges, those more competitive colleges, because our students have very high aspirations and they're very bright minds. And I think that our curriculum should not limit them on what they should be taking. I think that swim classes would be a huge place to start when looking at the aquatics. I think that we really could benefit from teaching our young children how to swim, and even myself.
I believe the Southfield community would benefit greatly because if you're not a Southfield resident, for some people they have to pay to get to a pool. Also, they have to go to other cities to go to the pool. So I feel that it will be more efficient and allow people to have access to water during the summertime.
It appears to have been cut from the video. Cassidy mentioned during that day that they are at a school that is one of the top 10 in the state, University High School Academy, yet their infrastructure does not mirror that of schools that are in the top 10 of the state. So I'm sorry that that part of the video apparently didn't make it into the final cut, but I did want to lift that out of the mouths of our students.
Thank you. Ms. Farrell, were you saying something? Sure.
Is this on? Can you hear me? I think what we ultimately are asking are for a learning environment that's 21st century, right? Our kids are competitive, but if you've ever recalled going to a friend's house when you were younger and you thought your house was wonderful until you go to the friends and you see, oh, wow, they have this, they have that. What we have is an aged infrastructure, and the kids have been successful in succeeding in that in spite of. The lavatories that the children mentioned are dated. If you recall the lavatories when we were in school with the acorn sink where you step on the lever on the floor and the water spouts out, that's what we still have. Nothing has been updated in our lavatories. Younger children have actually mentioned that they're scary. The lavatories are scary to use. Our aquatics, our pool center is not competitive, so we can't hold competitive competition in those pools because it's non-regulated. It's good for practice, but not for competition. On an average day, my office receives at least 50 calls. It's too hot, it's too cold. We've upgraded our control systems, but it was really just to interface what was already here, just so that we could be able to see it from our computer screens in the office to be able to monitor them. But the actual control itself is still aged, and we have 6 different systems of controls in our building. Nothing is uniform. So we've been able to hodgepodge a system together, but it's not ideal because ultimately we still can't control the environment that the students and the staff are in to make them comfortable throughout the day. I just needed to add that.
I just shared with Madam President Taylor that I was afforded the opportunity to give the class of 1972 from Southfield Lathrop a tour for their 50-year reunion. There were roughly 38 of them, most of whom no longer live in Michigan, and they could not believe that the school looked exactly the same. I had people actually go to etchings they had made near their locker to try to find it. One woman found something in the classroom. I couldn't believe she actually found it. But they did ask me, what do you all intend to do? And I told them about this capital bond campaign. Myself and 3 other board members sitting here are graduates of this district. I went to Shanos, Thompson. I graduated from Southfield Lathrop. My son went to McIntyre, Bernie. He graduated from University High School. My daughter goes to Stevenson. I'm invested, and I've seen these schools over a 28-year period, and I know exactly what it looks like inside. I wasn't sitting here when I was in kindergarten. I wasn't sitting here when I was in the 6th grade. There were other people here, but I can tell you that the building looks very similar to when I was 11. And the high school looks very similar to when I was 14. I think as a student then, if I had the opportunity to speak about this, I probably would have. I'm trying to do something about it now. I understand that the timing isn't perfect, but I definitely think that this district could be more competitive and allow our students and our teachers and the rest of our staff a comfortable learning environment. So that is just a piece I wanted to add just from a lens of a community member, an alumna, and a mom. So I'm not coming from one space. I have a myriad of hats that I wear while I sit in front of you. Trustees, I will open this panel up to our council members to ask any questions of Dr. Green, our Chief of Staff, our Director of Operations, or PFM if you have any questions regarding the millage rates or the bond or anything like that. So please, I can see to you.
Okay, thank you. Council, do we have any questions or comments that we'd like to make based on this presentation that we just heard and seen tonight? Okay, hearing none. I'm sorry, Councilwoman Banks.
Thank you. For those who don't know me, I am a proud graduate also of Southfield High. Levy and Southfield number 10 school, so been around for a long time. Do we still have 2 swimming pools, one at Southfield call it Southfield High School and Southfield Lathrop, I'm sorry. Do we still have pools at those two locations?
Ms. Venable?
No, ma'am, we do not. We currently do not have an operating pool at this school. The pool that we're using for our swim team to practice is at the Southfield Lathrop campus or MacArthur University campus.
So there is a swimming pool at Southfield Lathrop,
Yes, ma'am.
but the pool here is closed?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just curious, can swimming lessons be held at Southfield Lathrop?
No, ma'am. No. The
Because-
swimming pool is solely used for the swim team for practice.
And then can you elaborate a little more on the recreational center that's being proposed? Because as I'm sure many people are aware, in the city of Southfield, we also have been, you know, our pool is closed this year, so there's been a committee that has been actively looking at other facilities and locations to create and develop something on our campus also. So what are you proposing when it comes to the actual pool recreational center that has been discussed in the past?
So one, I'd like to double back to expound on the pool situation a little bit more. There is still physically a pool on this campus. We made the decision to close that pool due to the pool leaking water and our inability to fund keeping that pool where it needed to be. We also have been in conversations on repurposing part of that property either for our fire academy that we are doing in partnership with the fire department and or creating some additional space there for our students. But it has been closed for the last 4 years due to failed infrastructure. The pool at Lathrop is currently offline during the day, and we cannot do lessons there because it is not ADA compliant. You can't get to the pool deck if you are physically challenged in any way, shape, or form. So that is one of the additional factors that we have to take into consideration as we move forward. As it pertains to the community center, the community center would be for more than just that of recreation. It would be for any services that our families need, any services that the seniors in our community need. So it could be anything from partnering with the county for the development of wealth management, how to apply for first-time mortgages. It would be for our after-school programming, such as the coding that you heard the students mention in the video, the robotics, etc. So it is not just that of a recreation in terms of athletics, but there will be, or what is being proposed is also new athletic fields there for our youth sports. For those that may not be aware, we're the home of not only the Warriors, but we have become over time the home of the Falcons, which is one of the longest standing youth football leagues here in the city of Southfield. Most recently, we've been approached by 2 other youth sports teams. So we are not only trying to provide services for our students, we're trying to provide for the whole child and the whole family by way of having services available to them, not just through that of academics and athletics, but through any other social needs that our families may encounter.
Thank you.
If I may, that being said, what would be your hours? Have you looked at what kind of hours and days of operations you would have?
Well, we didn't want to put the cart before the horse, so we want to really have the ongoing conversation with the board and with the council, with our community members. Before we do anything, we want to look at a comprehensive needs. What is it that our families actually need? We had a very good pulse on what our families needed throughout the pandemic, and we tried to provide that from food security to that of even helping people with employment, the vaccine clinics, etc. So now we need to reassess, and we will continue to assess and progress monitor and make those necessary mid-course corrections relative to what our families actually need. And then we will work with our resources and partners to provide those items.
Okay, thank you. I know the next item, I was waiting to speak to that because it says the updates and forthcoming initiatives. So I was waiting till we get to that topic because the city is doing some fun and interesting things as well. So.
And Madam Board President, if I may continue, The school district is also looking at alternative ways to fund things. For example, we have a plethora of partnerships that are relatively new. We, through the investment of Ascension Hospital, now have a fully staffed Ascension Wellness Clinic here in this building. Ascension invested $500,000. That's to keep our students safe. They pay the salary of a full-time nurse practitioner and a full-time counselor to be on staff here in this building every day. So we are looking for alternative ways to provide solutions to our issues without having to continue to come to our community. But infrastructure, there is no company that we can go to and ask for them to partner for infrastructure. We also were, pre-pandemic, one of the few school districts that had full-time free mental health services through our partnerships with Ascension CNS and Easter Seals in every school in our district. We have a partnership with Henry Ford Optimize, whereby if we identify a student that cannot see, we refer them to Henry Ford at no cost and despite their economic background. Previously, when a student needed services, the family had to fill out a packet of information and pretty much give their blood type and DNA before they were able to receive the services. We've partnered with corporations that afford our students an opportunity to get what they need without going through all of the hoops to get there. And we are still producing phenomenal students. 33% of our students from the U get accepted to University of Michigan before we even get to second semester. I'm itching to get out of here right now to go see our girls volleyball team, who happen to be in the gym as we speak, because they went undefeated and many of them are getting full scholarships to college. Our boys football team, they won their division and they're in the playoffs on Saturday. So we not only have scholars, we have scholar athletes that are going on to do amazing works, not only within our district, within our community, and on a national and statewide level.
And I'd also like to add that they also come back and open businesses within the city and raise families within the city.
Absolutely.
So that's something to be proud of.
We also have a brand new alumni association, and many of them are business owners, and they are investing back into the city, back into the community, and back into the district. So you're absolutely correct.
And I do want to let everyone know that our technology department did purchase us new mics. Our soundboard is just very old, so I want to apologize if anyone else's mic goes out. We can get new stuff, but at the core, our foundation is old and it's outdated. It's just another example of some of the things we go through on a daily basis.
Board President, these are actually on loan from M1 Studios. We couldn't.
These are on loan. We loaned these out. Thank you, M1 Studios.
And are those services going to be increased with the bond proposal, or will they be staying the same?
The bond proposal is specifically to that of infrastructure. Not a dime of this money can be utilized for increasing staff or increasing salaries of any type. So this would specifically be toward that of infrastructure.
And so infrastructure, though, includes transportation, correct? So,
well, there may be a time that we need to replace the entire bus fleet with electric buses. So we don't know, so I can't really predict the future, but I will say that the services will not decrease as they currently exist.
okay, great.
However, if it does not pass, we may need to decrease transportation across the entire board, not just for our partners, but for the school district as a whole. That's a decision and a conversation that our trustees will have to face.
Okay. And then the other question that I had is I did watch a few months ago the town hall where presenters came to look at some of the vacant properties and empty school buildings. Do you have an update on, have any of those offers been entertained? Have there been negotiations? I know some were actual buildings, some were vacant properties. I was just wondering if you had an update.
I do. Actually, as I mentioned earlier, right before this meeting, I was on the line with our realtor, and he just called while I was sitting here, so I'm not sure what that update is. But prior to this meeting, I do know that there were several meetings, several conversations held with some of those investors, and I do know that there is a meeting scheduled for tomorrow, of which I will be in attendance. Furthermore, there are 2 meetings scheduled next week with our district attorney and our real estate broker for 2 of those proposals.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, Councilman Brightwell?
I want to mention that since I've been on council, starting in 2015, and it was a feeling and also an indoctrination that the city council and the school board is a partnership, and that we are 100%, at least I am as a councilman, supportive of the school board. And one of the reasons for that is when something happens at the school, the council people are the first to get calls. And I recall several years ago when we were closing schools and people were giving me calls and giving other council people calls with respect to what was going on. So that ramped up the process of making sure that we communicate with the school board, and we were, at least I am, with respect to what is going on with the school. So that's a part of the partnership. And I just want to leave it with that the council recognized the need for a healthy school system and a healthy school board and a healthy institution, because when people move to Southfield, one of the reasons for moving here is for the schools, and also other public services, public safety is a big factor also. So I just wanted to say that, and so thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Councilman Frazier?
Yes. Some of the things that Mr. Brightwell said were the same things that I was thinking about, is that a lot of times when events happen at the school, people come to the city council to see if they can get them resolved. And it ought to be something that we can clarify with our population so that they know who is responsible for which pieces of their activities. That's one of the things. The other thing is, I sat here and tried to listen to the presentation, and I could hardly hear and make any sense of who was speaking and what was saying. The echo in this room is something, and I realize that this is not what normally takes place in this room, but if part of the things that are going to be looked at if this millage passes is, if you're going to communicate in this room, somebody needs to take a look at it. And maybe it's only me, I don't know.
No, it's not just you.
And the other thing, I'm sitting here with the bright light shining in my eyes. It's almost like I need to confess to something. But and I hate to be a naysayer, but if we're going to honestly communicate with what's going to happen and make it better, make Southfield better for our population, our kids coming in, and encourage people to move in, we've got to do the best thing and make it so that people want to be here. So that's the only reason I'm bringing this up. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Mayor?
The topic that we want to discuss tonight is shared use of facilities. And could someone tell me the current policy of community use of, I know it was years ago, of community use of school facilities?
Well, I can tell you that the policy really hasn't changed very much. As you know, Mayor, I've been here a limited amount of time. I've been here since the beginning of 2021. The policy is that the facilities are available for use. That's ultimately the policy, that the facilities are available for use. We're working on revision of that policy, right, that it be more robust, and also etch out administrative guidelines around community use. Those things are not in writing with respect to the policy. The ultimate.
Expound upon that just a little bit more, because there are 4 respective areas that are prohibited under law, and those are written into the policy. So you cannot rent out for, the school district cannot sponsor a political rally that is specifically for that of politics, but they can lease the facility if someone else wants to do it. And it's also a requirement that individuals have liability insurance, and then we do charge a rate for individuals to use our facilities to cover the overhead costs that we have.
City of Southfield does not charge homeowner associations to use city facilities, and any of the partner organizations like the Friends of the Library, Friends of Public Arts, all our 501c3s that help raise money, provide things for the city and the community. They're not charged to use facilities, and most of them don't have insurance. Homeowner associations don't have insurance. And, I had a recent incident where insurance was demanded to use a school parking lot. And I want a clarification. I think that's misguided from my point of view. And when I was on that side of the table, we didn't charge and we didn't require insurance. I don't know what the policy is, and I'm really having a very hard time hearing you, but perhaps you could send this to me in writing, what the policy is.
Absolutely, we will.
And I would hope that you would open the schools to neighborhood associations for their regular meetings. Again, the city does not charge.
So that is part of what is proposed for the community center, that of allowing our neighborhood organizations to utilize that space for their meetings. The piece relative to insurance has been in our board policy. I'm not sure when it was added to the board policy, but I will definitely forward you a copy of that as soon as we leave here today.
Well, thank you for that. And my other question kind of goes back to something Councilman Mandelbaum was referring to. Before, some years ago, and certainly before your arrival, Dr. Green, the district, as a way of working with the community and with, and it was also beneficial to the Southfield Public Schools because it added to your count, your per pupil, the shared instruction program with private schools. And I don't know if the district is going to look at that again. Personally, I thought it was a shame that that went away, but again, none of the people that are here this evening had anything to do with that. But again, it's a way of raising revenue and supporting the community. So I just want to bring that up. I don't know if that's been on your radar. I know you're very big on partnerships, and that is critical, as we can't do this alone. So I don't know if you have anything to respond to that or not, but.
So we are always open to innovation. As you are aware, there is a national teacher shortage, so we are looking for shared services where possible, not just to increase student enrollment or FTEs, but to provide those anomalies in the curriculum whereby we cannot bring on a full-time instructor in a specific area. If we wanted to teach Mandarin Chinese, as an example, we would look at a shared service situation with another school district and or private entity to do so.
Where feasible, where it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Thank you for those comments, Mayor. Anyone else?
Madam President, I just want to go back to the PFM page where they're talking about the 21 debt and the sinking fund. So with the proposed debt, the school district will be below the average in Oakland County, is that correct?
That is correct.
And if you could just, what was never really discussed a lot was the millage reduction you had at the end of last year. If you could maybe shed some light into how that came about. And just from my knowledge, there is no additional operating millage. This is just your, other than the state.
That is correct as well.
So for Homestead, the 24 minus your credit, 6 mils, and then this would be proposed. And you're currently, looks like about 3.5, and with proposed, you'll still be, I'm looking at how this packs, and you're going to be below.
Absolutely. We will definitely be below. Looking at the chart, we're the sixth from the right on the chart, but we were significantly below all of the other school districts in Oakland County. And with this additional bond increase, we would still be below the average for all of Oakland County for the school district.
Can you talk about what happened with that reduction? I forget what
Carrie,
it was
if
in
you
December.
Don't mind discussing what the reduction was. Basically, because we had the influx of dollars at the state level this past year due to the federal relief that we received, everyone received a tax credit from the, well, not from the school district, but they received a tax credit on their tax bill because of the additional supplemental dollars that the district received from the federal government through the state.
So was that a one-time?
That, unless the state decides to give us an additional influx. So that was a one-time that we know of right now today. So everyone, if they go back and check their tax bill from last year, they would have seen a reduction in their tax bill from that of the school taxes. Thank you for lifting that.
A thing, or?
Well, that comes directly from the state. If the state decides that they're going to give us additional funds, then we will be able to have that more than one time. But as of right now, it was a one time as a result of the state funding by way of the federal dollars.
If I may, from my counsel, the difficulty that creates is when we get our escrow payments, there'll be an adjustment, and there'll be calls that come to our assessor and treasurer's office. It's still a win for the taxpayer, though.
Thank you. I do want to say, while we talk about collaboration and partnership, and I believe in giving credit where credit is due, Trustee Hicks navigated as the former board president and connected myself and Madam President Taylor. And there has not been one time that I've called her and she has not answered the phone. This has been a difficult thing to get together, especially with having the vice president here last week. We kind of got our schedules thrown off, but there's been nothing that I've asked of her or a time when she hasn't picked up the phone or answered an email. So I would like to thank her for that. And as we talk about partnerships and collaboration, earlier I took the time to thank Chief Barron and Chief Menifee. I believe that Chief Barron and Dr. Green have each other on speed dial because
Menifee
they
too.
are, and Chief Menifee. But I know that whenever we call, they're there. So the partnership and the collaboration is possible between the city of Southfield and the city of Lathrop Village, and I think that we're working toward that and not away from it. So I would like to thank Madam President for all of her assistance, guidance, and collaboration in this event. I don't know if you have any updates or forthcoming initiatives, because I can see back to you.
Okay, thank you. I just want to say thank you for all those comments, but the council is a full team, and everything that we talk about, I refer and send out to our council, and they are all in agreement. So everyone wants to work together and improve the city of Southfield as a whole. We keep our residents and our businesses, our schools, our children, our seniors, everyone on our minds and in the forefront of whatever decisions that we make. And so we do work very well together. And thank you for those kind words. We are forthcoming initiatives that the city is looking at. We are looking at, as you've heard, our pool was closed this year, and it was closed due to some repairs and stuff that it needs that we could not even get parts for. So we understand when you say that there's things that happens with the pools that you need. But we also are taking the opportunity not just to look at a pool, but a complete community recreational center. We're looking at what the city of Southfield needs, not just our wants. We want to see what we could do with taxpayer dollars to make the city a better place, a more welcoming place, and to meet the needs of our residents that you're asking for. As you know, we had several town halls where we inquired using the master plan, the Beachwoods master plan, as well as Parks and Rec. What things do you want to see? What things would you like to see changed in the city? And we heard our residents say that a swimming pool year-round, that they would like to have a recreational center, state-of-the-art place for our seniors to go to just to relax, read a book, do whatever they want to do, have a center, a community center, those kinds of things. And we heard you. So we took the time to put together a team through our finance committee to actually go out and view what other communities are doing, as well as contact our school board, and we will keep them informed as to what we're doing going forward as well. Some of the places that we've seen, some of the ideas that have come forth, and the request of our residents, what you are actually looking for. You want something 24/7. You want something that you can come to anytime, because we have people that work days, people that work nights, people that want to go swimming in the morning. We want aquatics. There's so many things that the residents want, and if we can find a way to bring all that together on our central campus or somewhere that would be accessible to all of our residents at some point in time, that's what we're doing. And so this was just an opportunity for us to mention those things to you and to the school board. And if there's someone here that wanted to add to those, and I don't know if we do have someone, but if you would like to speak to our future initiatives, that would be great. Okay.
I think you covered it, Madam Chair. I think pretty much covered the future intent, what we've heard, so and what we've done to try to implement that. So you covered it. Thank you.
And just to let the residents know, you can look forward to seeing some things happening. We also know that communication and transparency is key for all of our residents. So we plan on doing that with all the areas that we are going to be working on. That's the City Hall, as well as Beachwoods, Evergreen, everything that we're going to be doing. We heard what your requests were, and we are looking forward to working and partnering with all of our residents, our businesses, our school board, our hospitals. We just have a lot of things going. As you know, Northland is taking off. We have a lot of things, and we want to keep you informed. So that's what, one of the things we heard from you was the communication, the transparency. You want to know what we are doing, and that's what we plan to do. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Trustees, do you have any questions for our city council members? Hearing none.
Okay. I see that we're back at the public participation piece again, and I'm gonna, I don't know if the blue cards have been passed out again. I'm going to defer back to our school board president to see how that process normally
We
works.
have opened up after, we do open up public participation again. We've given you a lot of information. This will allow our community to ask any questions based on what you have just heard. I do not know, Ms. Cash, do you know if we have public participation cards still floating around, or if there are blank ones available for our community to fill out?
Or if they could just stand up.
Sure. We do like, though, for you to fill them out, just in case you have any specific questions. We will reach out to you via email or if you give your address. So if you do have an opportunity to fill the card out, I see Dr. Freeman. Thank you, Dr. Freeman. If you can fill one out, would you please do so?
I have a question. It goes back to Mr. Mandelbaum. You had mentioned, because I looked at the numbers of the census, how many kids are in the age group from 5 to 18 in the city of Southfield, and roughly it's about 13,000, and we're only attracting 5,000 to the schools. So I know some of the kids go to religious school, they go to the Jewish school, we have charter schools, and some of them go to the neighboring communities, as well as far as Detroit. And some of those schools are not as up-to-date as we would like. I understand we do need resources here in Southfield, but the bond is very, very large. And it's like you said, it's not an opportune time to do it, but I'm just concerned about the size of it at this time, at this particular election. I think things need to be scrutinized a little bit more. That's just my personal opinion. Also, I know that we should do more to get that student number for each head that we could attract back into the school district. Part of that is the infrastructure, but also there are other measures in terms of safety, organization, some of the conflicts that we've heard about within our school districts in terms of the student body. So some of those things can be rectified, and the community can be very active in being a part of helping that to happen. And I think we need more collaboration between the community, the parents, the students, the school board, our city. I'm hearing that you want a community center, but I'm not really hearing where you're collaborating with the resources for our city. If you're going to do a swimming pool and community center, I don't understand why the school is doing that and competing with Parks and Rec with the city. So from my perspective as one of the long-term citizen of this particular community, those are some major concerns. Money is a concern for all of us. You're talking about $1/3 billion. I see there is a lot that needs to be done, but I hope that we do take more time and look through this particular plan that you have. Some of the work, I saw some things on your plan that was done some years ago, like the asbestos abatement in the buildings, and that work was done in the ceilings and the furnace room, but I know that the floors were not done because those old tiles do have asbestos in it. So I understand that monies are needed. I'm just concerned about the amount that you're asking for. And that's my comment. Thank you.
What is your first and last name, ma'am?
My name is Vanessa Burrell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excuse me, I'm Joe Person of the chair of the Southfield Lathrop Village Democratic Club. The only problem I have, I trust a lot of you folks. A lot of you folks, the Southfield Lathrop Village Democratic Club put you in the positions that you're in. So I'm not going to question all of that, what you're doing. I'll let y'all work that out. I trust my city council. I trust y'all on the school board. Dr. Green, you ain't no joke. You know what I mean? So I trust you. But here's my point that I have a concern about. When you say community use and everybody wants to say nonpartisan, the Southfield Lathrop Village Dem Club, and y'all can let the Republican clubs, I don't care. But if we're here and I'm paying tax dollars and my tax dollars that I pay, nowhere I've lived in the United States, starting with the highest place, West Bloomfield, all the way to Dallas, Texas. I've never paid the kind of taxes that I pay here. Yet, when it comes time to use the properties here or your community rooms, you know, everybody says now they want you to pay. Well, at one time, we didn't pay like anybody else paid. So in this community center that you have, will it be open to all of us? Because see, whether we get it as a Democratic club or whether I get it as Mr. Person, it doesn't matter. We should have access to this, because some of the conversations that we need to have some community conversations about what's really going on. I hear the folks out here. I'm on the ground out here in the campaign. You know, I've been out in the street all day today getting literature out. By the way, vote for Kyra Bolden, State Supreme Court. Shout out. But at the end of the day, we need to be able to come and sit down and have a place to talk, and not just we pay for it. So when you think about this community use building, if there's a community use agreement, open it up to everybody. And please don't say nonpartisan, because a lot of y'all up there are not nonpartisan. You know what organizations you belong to, and some of y'all know what organizations you pretend you belong to. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Timothy Chrysler. I live on Green Valley. I need to get something clear about the egress road.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
I need to get something clear about the egress road on Green Valley. Was the egress road actually mandated, or was the plan for some kind of security for the school, was that mandated, and then the egress road came up through that plan?
You may address it.
We normally don't respond.
For
but-
sure.
So the second part of what you stated sounds more accurate. We were mandated by the state to update all of our emergency operations plans as part of that planning process, which was inclusive of Homeland Security, police officers, fire department, as well as interdepartmental stakeholders. The emergency egress road was a part of the plan developed by that team.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Harmon Gunther, president of Cranbrook Village Homeowners Association. I live in 19101 Green Spruce. Before you closed MacArthur, our Homeowners Association timed our annual meetings to be able to use the facility while the custodian was still there. So we did that together. Since the closing of that, we have been going to Parks and Rec, where we do not have to pay for the facility. And you're talking about opening up a community center. Are you proposing that associations like mine will be able to meet there free of charge, or will there be a cost?
The current proposal is that our homeowners associations will be able to utilize the space there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So will my homeowners.
Yes, free of charge.
Greg Keeler, I would like to thank you for answering most of our questions. As I heard the second lady on the end, one of the things I had to think about when she made the comment about the swimming pool was, I remember being here in the 70s and swimming in it, and that definitely was not a racing pool at that time. And it was definitely a problem getting into it, even as an able body. And so that made me think, as you showed the presentation with the kids, we probably need to see that we do have schools that are very old, and we do have still the stepping fountains on there. And that's ancient. And our schools are so far behind as the way they are built and constructed and everything else in it. And I think that's something we need to hear more of, something we need to know more of as to where our schools are at. I would definitely like to see the The pool changed, that's what you said, because I think that pool's over 60 years old. So of course it's leaking. And of course it's got a whole lot of problems. And even 50 years ago, it was hard getting out of that pool. Thank you.
Board President, if there's anyone within our community that is interested in doing a tour of our buildings, we welcome that as well. We do. We believe that sometimes people need to see what we see every day. We spend a good portion of our life in these buildings. So if someone is interested, I ask that they email james.jackson@southfieldk12.org, and we will arrange for those tours to occur for our stakeholders.
Was the audience able to hear what Dr. Green just said?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening again. My name is Marcy Turner, and I spoke before, and you have my card or my slip. But I'd like to just say, after hearing the presentation, and not having a good clarification about when you spoke about the millage rate for the school being so low in Southfield. Well, I have some statistics that say maybe it's not the school portion, but the overall millage rate for Southfield is the highest in the community, okay? It is 58.6 mills compared to 40.2 mills in Birmingham. The household income in Southfield is only $58,000, okay? The household income comparatively in Birmingham, which has a much smaller millage rate, is $126,000. And the young lady that spoke about West Bloomfield has $106,000 household income compared to 59, which is right around Southfield. So we don't have the dollars that Birmingham, West Bloomfield, I don't want to name them all, but Farmington Hills, Berkeley, all the surrounding communities have, but yet and still, we're being taxed at the highest level overall. Maybe the school which is a portion, we don't just pay school tax, we pay the whole tax. And for you, all of you that are involved in raising the millage rate, I don't care how many mills it is. When we're already suffering, you're just putting a knife in our backs and turning it, okay, to make us bleed even more. And I think that's an atrocity. It really is. I am a proud graduate of Cass Technical High School, okay? When I came out of that high school, it needed a lot of maintenance too. But we have the best people in the country that graduated from Cass Technical High School. It's not about the walls, but it's about what's going on inside the classroom. We had very good teachers. We have graduates that are doctors, attorneys, architects, actors, fashion designers, accountants. We have all of that coming out of those walls. And also the last thing I want to say is, you don't build a mountain today and think that you're going to gouge all the money to do it. You have to build it piece by piece. And so to let all of this have decayed over all this time is also an atrocity. Thank you.
Yolanda Haynes. So much was offered in the slide that we really don't have a chance to really address everything that we would like to say. But leadership matters. And I said in a council meeting, if you're not faithful of the small things, you shouldn't be given the responsibility of the greater things. 20 years has gone by, and some of the things I thought the kids were nice in the video, and some of the things were cute and really important. What have you done? 20 years, I mean, no offense, the kid said something about toilet tissue. Now, that's not a bond issue. That's nothing that can be taken care of with a bond issue. That's a responsibility. Not only that, you've had money, and some of the things that you asked money for before have not been taken care of. That's a problem. That's a real problem. Also, why should it come to today that you decide to have a real estate person when these buildings have been sitting here rotting Yeah, I know a businessman, a prominent businessman that made millions of dollars with his business. He sold the business, but he held the company land. He leases the land. He still to this day makes money off of that land. That could have happened had that been somebody in leadership would have offered that. We're talking, you people are sitting here relegating and delegating with our money. You know, no offense to you personally, but this is a problem. Your job is to take care of the education of the children. A community center has no involvement with that. We have Parks and Recs in a city that is doing a job that they were paid to do, and they should do that. You have no place in doing that. We don't need two people now all of a sudden come together to decide what we want to collaborate on. No. Let the city do their part and let you all do your part to take care of these children. And some of the things you said are well intent that they need to be done, but not at the expense of the taxpayers. You have a responsibility for some things you have not taken care of, and we do not want our money being used for that which you haven't done before. That is a real problem. And you need to address that. You're sitting here, you'll go back to these meetings, we get very little information. One lady just said here, she was asking for 4 years, she hadn't gotten that. The communication is poor here. You got parents, how many parents live in a district that pay the money that we pay, that send their kids to school here? You know, and if you got the kids leaving the school, what is wrong with the school? Address those situations. Address those concerns. Not build a community center where we've already had a repetitive center here that did not work, and that Parks and Recs are trying to figure out how to address that. Deal with the educational center, not trying to take care of the community, take care of the kids, not the community. We have to pay extra money for that. 89 cents a day, is that going to increase? 89 cents sounds like a little bit of money when you add it per day. Will that increase 89 cents a dollar or to $1 a day? That's my money I like to keep for my family. Thank you.
Irv Lundberg, City Treasurer of Southfield. I had a question regarding, I get questions asking what the fiscal impact is going to be of the millage on the taxpayer. And I referred them over to your calculator that you have on your website. But one thing I don't understand, though, why is there an income line over there as part of the calculation? Typically, a millage is based upon the home value, which you have a line item for that. But why is income a factor in the calculation?
Good evening. The calculator also has built into it if someone qualifies for the homestead property tax credit and they're not capped out on that credit yet, it would show what impact that shows, and you can't get that without the income.
Thank you, Carrie.
And it's not recorded. Whatever you enter into there, it's not recorded in some secret thing. So.
Anissa Freeman, 20611 Secluded Lane. I work here in Southfield Public Schools. I live here in Southfield Public Schools. I have a recent grad who is now at Michigan State, freshman year. Go green, go white. And I have a junior at the U. We have been here since grade K. The buildings are hot, so my students not only come to school with their materials, I have to ask at night, did you charge your portable fan? Most kids walk around with a portable fan. I routinely buy heat warmers, you know, the ones that you wear in your gloves when it's time to ski. We dress in layers because we don't know the conditions of the buildings. In my office, I have not had air conditioning in the 5 years that I've been here. This year, I had air, and the rest of the building did not. So, I don't want us to get stuck on the community center, because I've been in a district where, yes, we had a community center and a preschool resided there. Really nice place where seniors came and they did activities, but that's just one little piece. We're talking about the infrastructure of our buildings, and if you come and see the cracks in the wall, buildings that are sinking, buildings that have not been taken care of, and shame on us. Shame on us for not doing it 20 years ago and insisting that they do it. I also work hard to recruit teachers. They don't want to come. I have had my kids in my car and we're driving. We will stumble upon a school and they'll say, "Mom, is that their school?" They're looking at the difference. So attracting not only our students, but maintaining our staff is critical in our work. We can do this, and I say let's get it done. You have my vote.
Was there any other public participation? Seeing none. Future meetings, November 9th, 2022, Wednesday, regular board meeting. Again, that is November 9th. We will not have our regular board meeting on Tuesday, seeing as though that is Election Day. Our regular board meeting will take place at 7 p.m. at JWE on Wednesday, November 9th.
Again, I just want to say thank you to the school board and everyone that's here tonight for hosting this meeting. We were trying all year to have this meeting, so we did, and as the board president, Ashante, alluded to, she's been extremely accessible, and we've worked together very, very well, and we will continue. But we would like to see a joint meeting with the school board on a regular basis. We're trying to do like a quarterly meeting, but if we need to do it more often, we will make our schedules work somehow to do that. And in light of all the things that's going on in Southfield, we might need to come together a little bit more. But we are trying to put together a schedule where we can meet on a quarterly basis because we have so many of the same I guess, things that we care about, so many goals that are the same. And we know that our children and our residents and businesses, just our communities are very important to all of us. So we would like to see that. And again, I just want to say thank you to everybody. This was a very nice meeting. I hope we answered a lot of questions and had a lot of questions answered. And our next council meeting is going to be on November 1st, which is a Tuesday. So please come out and join us. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you to the community members who have come out this evening. It is 8:04 and meeting adjourned.